Welcome to the Walt Disney Archives Presents Charting the Course. This is Disney Global Stories and Inspirations. So with the overall theme of the event being Disney Worlds, we were trying to think of how do we create something that kind of goes with that theming, and this is what we started with. So here we enter into the research phase of any Disney project. So we used two different case studies to illustrate that. Over in that first section there, you'll see black and white photos from Walt and El Grupo's trip in 1941 to South America. And these were all the reference items that were used to create Three Caballeros as well as Saludos Amigos. We also wanted to then bring a more modern example into the fold. So here we have some of the Imagineering research trips throughout Asia and Africa that resulted in Disney's Animal Kingdom. So we of course have lots of photography here. So this is where really this project starts, right? Because whenever you're thinking about any Disney project, whether it's animation, live action, or theme parks, you want to add that authenticity, especially if you're recreating nature or something that exists in the real world. You want it to feel authentic, you want it to feel real, so you really suspend disbelief when you're watching the project or being immersed in the project. So that's why this research is so important. So we started with our photography here that really sets our inspiration up. Then we turn to the other side of the room and we see these research pictures kind of start becoming concepts. So we have over here some artists such as Mary Blair and Lee Blair kind of creating as they're on the site. And then their illustrations come to life a little bit. And similarly over here with Joe Rohde, we have some of his sketches, as well as in this case, we have his sketchbook and also a pair of boots that he wore on many of his exhibitions, including for Disney's Animal Kingdom, for Alani, and also Pleasure Island. So now that we've reached the concept stage, we're inspired, but let's get a little deeper into concept if you want to head into our next area.